You meet someone new. You hear their name clearly. You even repeat it in your head. And then, seconds later, it's gone. Not their face, not the conversation, just the name. And now you're stuck in that quiet, awkward moment where you're hoping it doesn't come up again. So you start wondering, why is this so hard for me when others seem to remember effortlessly? The answer isn't laziness, and it's not bad memory. It's something far more specific about how your brain chooses what to keep and what to let go. For people who struggle with names, the pattern is strangely consistent. You remember details. You remember stories. You remember how someone made you feel. But names? They slip away almost instantly. It can even create a quiet sense of guilt because names feel important, personal, foundational to identity. So when you forget them, it can feel like you're failing at something basic. Over time, this creates small coping behaviors.
Avoiding using names, delaying introductions, smiling instead of speaking, hoping someone else says the name first. But underneath all of this, something interesting is happening. Your brain isn't failing, it's prioritizing. And names, surprisingly, are one of the hardest things for the brain to store. But why? Here's the shift that changes everything. Forgetting names doesn't mean you have a bad memory. In many cases, it means your brain is tuned toward meaning, not labels. Psychologists distinguish between two types of memory processing: semantic meaning, what something represents; arbitrary labels, what something is called. Names fall into the second category. They are often arbitrary sounds with no inherent meaning. Unlike a story or an emotion, a name doesn't automatically connect to a larger mental structure, so your brain treats it as low-priority information unless something forces it to matter.
This is especially true for people who think in concepts rather than words, focus on emotional or contextual details, or process conversations quickly. Your brain is not careless, it's selective, and names often don't make the cut. But the real reason goes deeper than that, because it's not just about memory, it's about attention at the exact moment the name appears. Memory begins with attention. If your brain isn't fully present when information arrives, it doesn't get encoded properly, and names usually appear at the worst possible moment for attention, right at the beginning of an interaction. At that moment, your brain is busy doing other things, managing first impressions, monitoring your body language, deciding what to say next, regulating social anxiety. Cognitive science calls this working memory load. Your brain only has a limited amount of mental space at any given time, and during introductions, that space is already crowded. So when the name arrives, it gets pushed aside. Not because it's unimportant, but because your brain is temporarily overloaded. There's also another factor, a mental model called the hook principle. Think of memory like a wall with hooks. Information sticks better when it has something to hang on to. Stories have hooks, emotions have hooks, images have hooks. But names? They're often just loose threads. If a name doesn't connect to something meaningful, it has nowhere to stay, so it slips. This is why you might remember someone's life story, but not the one word that identifies them. And once you understand this, something changes, because forgetting names stops feeling random and starts feeling predictable, which means it can also become manageable. The goal isn't to force your brain to become something it's not, it's to work with how memory actually functions. Here are 4 psychologically grounded ways to make names stick.
Pause the mental noise. Since attention is the first step of memory, you need to create a small window of focus when the name is said. Example, when someone introduces themselves, pause everything else for 2 seconds. Don't think about what to say next. Don't analyze the situation. Just listen. This reduces working memory interference, allowing the name to properly encode. Attach a meaning hook. Your brain remembers meaning, not randomness, so give the name a hook. Example, if someone says, "I'm Allie," you might think, "Allie, like someone I knew in school," or link it to a mental image. This activates associative memory networks, making the name easier to retrieve later. Use it immediately. Repetition strengthens memory, but timing matters. Using the name right after hearing it helps move it from short-term to slightly more stable memory. Example, "Nice to meet you, Sarah."
This works because it reinforces the neural pathway while it's still active. 4. Accept imperfection without anxiety. Ironically, anxiety about forgetting names makes the problem worse, because anxiety increases cognitive load, which reduces memory performance. Example: if you forget someone's name, calmly ask again. "I'm sorry, can you remind me of your name?" When the brain isn't under pressure, it encodes information more effectively. So when you look at the full picture, something becomes clear. Forgetting names isn't a flaw. It's the result of three interacting systems: your brain's focus on meaning over labels, your limited attention during first impressions, and your need for mental hooks to store information. Once you understand this, the experience changes. You stop judging yourself and start noticing the pattern. Names aren't slipping away randomly. They were never fully stored to begin with. And with a few small shifts,
That can change. There's something quietly revealing about the kind of memory you have. Some people remember names instantly. Others remember emotions, details, moments. And the truth is, the things your brain holds on to say something about how you experience the world. For you, it might not be labels that stay. It might be meaning, connection, atmosphere. And maybe that's not something to fix completely, just something to understand and gently improve where it matters. Because remembering someone's name is useful, but remembering how they felt to you is something deeper.